Sunday was Mother's Day. And, there's all the hoopla and the, commercialization around this particular holiday. But I think what is key for us to remember is the important role that mothers play. And so we want to discuss that and what it means to be a mother in Kenya, what it means to be a mother this side of the world. It's great that we're able to do that, but what are the challenges facing a lot of women? A lot of women, by the way, think it's either one or the other. You are either a career woman or an entrepreneur, or you are a mother. It is never the two. You can't do the two at the same time. True or false? Do keep the conversation going with us on Twitter at KTN Kenya. You can tweet me as well at Yvonne Okwara as we discuss this with some very powerful ladies. I am so humbled to be in their presence. Stephanie Mwite, who's an entrepreneur, does so many things. So I just thought entrepreneur fits everything that you do.
It does.
And who's a mother as well. We also have Jennifer Karina, who's an author and a mother. We have Njoki Karoya, who's our columnist here. Author, columnist, women's rights activist, and mother.
And mother.
Well. And this is what was interesting. I think last week we were set to have you on, and then Njoki says, "No, I have to take my child to school."
Yeah.
And everything just pales in comparison to that. And so that's an important role I think that women play. Let's start off with you, Stephanie, and what Mother's Day was like for you on Sunday.
Oh, it was great. My children, my youngest girl remembered because her father had whispered to her. So she said, "Oh, happy Mother's Day." She's very dramatic. So the rest who felt, "Oops, we forgot." So they came. My son, who's trying to be clever, says, "Well, I was planning something." My daughter, my second-born daughter, I have 5. Yeah. So my second-born daughter said at 4, "Oh, by the way, Mom, happy Mother's Day."
Oh, yeah. Was it 4 in the afternoon?
4 in the afternoon,
okay.
Yeah. She had things were
right.
Yeah, but it was great. It was great just to see them. As she, I mean, when you see your children and you're like, "Oh, this came out of me."
And 5 of them.
And five
amazing for someone who's like 5 times. Oh, wow. All right. Okay. Yeah. So, a good day for you. Jennifer, what was it like for you? Your children are grown. You're a mother and a grandmother. Yes.
My children are in their homes, so what I woke up to are messages of Happy Mother's Day.
Okay.
But fortunately, we had a family meeting where we fellowship together once a month. So we spent the day together, but I had the privilege of being with my grandchild for Mother's Day, and I taught her to say Happy Mother's Day to her mother. Yeah. And she kept saying that the whole day. Oh, wow. Happy Mother's Day, Mom. And so it was fun, very exciting.
From the perspective of a grandmother, that's interesting.
Yes.
Njoki, what was it like for you?
Grandmother.
But
I don't have their experience. I mean, my daughter is 8 years old, and obviously she doesn't know about these things. But I think we were watching TV, and there was an advert about Mother's Day and Happy Mother's Day. So she goes, "Mom, it's Happy Mother's Day. We're supposed to thank you for being a mother." Okay, then she comes, she hugs me. I'm like, okay. I mean, this is what it's all about, you know. Yeah. And the appreciation from the children. And even when you give birth and then you watch your child grow, and you see them develop, and you know that this is your intervention as a mother, that you create, because I mean, that is such a huge responsibility. We mold these little ones into the people they become in future. So it's a huge role. And so sometimes when you see her going, I see her going maybe the wrong way, you almost feel pained, because you're thinking, is it something that I've not done? I mean, you don't think that it's their fault. It is it something that I haven't done as a mother? Is that something that I need to do to just sort of correct this behavior? And a lot of this responsibility is actually left to mothers. Fathers generally have this, they have a role, and yes, many of them played, but a lot of it is they think the nitty-gritty is the responsibility of the mother. They deal with the taking care of things. If the child falls sick, then they deal with the bills and school fees and stuff like that. But the nitty-gritty, which is really the molding, they take that as a responsibility of
mothers nurture. But let's talk about Mother's Day, though. Do you think it's been over commercialized, Jennifer? It's you know, like you say, you watch it on television and it's Mother's Day and it's, you know, I'll put it this way. I went to the supermarket on Sunday evening and without naming names, there was an alcoholic brand that was selling it, was saying, you know, share this with your mother. Okay, I've got nothing against alcohol, but it just seems like everybody cashes in, you know, on a day such as this. Even the alcoholic brands are not left behind. What do you think about Mother's Day in the context that it is in today?
It is important to acknowledge that mothers are very important. And you know, Mother's Day is not the only day that is celebrated or commercialized. And the vendors are out there to take advantage and to know we are going to cash in on this. Right. And so what is important on Mother's Day is really to celebrate motherhood. And it's not just about that particular day. Motherhood ought to be celebrated every single day. You know, motherhood is a gift from God. Not everyone will be a mother. And so when you do get a child, it is a blessing from God. And so that is something to be nurtured, as Njoki is saying, to be celebrated, and to remember every day. Remember, you who has a child has been given a gift from God for nothing that you deserve, but simply favor. And so as you celebrate Mother's Day, it becomes that one day that if you do not have interaction with a mother, you know, it comes very much from the Western world because they live distance apart. They don't have a social structure like we do. And because of the absence of the day-to-day interaction, then it's important for them. But as Africans, we connect on a daily basis. And so we don't need Mother's Day to celebrate motherhood. We celebrate it every day. Every day.
Yeah. But it's a good day. It's a good day. It is a good day. And even the commercialization, I think, in a way, well, entrepreneurs, I think, take advantage of these things. But I think just having this one day to just celebrate motherhood and getting all these people, the entrepreneurs, to commercialize it. I think what they do is they take this motherhood thing to another level, because now there is national awareness about the day, and there's this just one day. You see, like now I'll remember the hand. You know, there's this one day where the child now goes out of their way. And what I saw in South Africa, because Mother's Day is not necessarily a fixed day. It's the second Sunday in May for the Americans, and I think because everybody just follows the Americans. But other countries have it on different days in May. And I saw what South Africa had done in one of their adverts. Is they're calling this Mother's May. So that it incorporates all these days, so you can celebrate, you know, your mother from the beginning, 1st to 31st May. And I think that's you know.
And Njoki, it's a springboard, because it reminds you, you know, like if you're not remembering your mother on a daily basis, then this day reminds you. Then you think, you know what? Let me be doing this more often. So it's actually more of a springboard day.
That just rejuvenates that feeling again.
Day of reflection.
And that's important. And like you say, Jennifer, you know, motherhood is it's a gift, but it also comes with its challenges, and particularly for modern African women, you know, a lot is changing. The African woman wants to go out there. She's getting more educated. She's getting jobs. She's going for the top jobs. She's starting a business, and she's running something successful on her own or in collaboration with her husband, partner, boyfriend, or, you know, whatever it is that you want to talk about. What is it like for you? Was there ever a point where you thought, okay, motherhood and running my business, motherhood and running my business. Was there ever a point when you said, oh, you know, I don't want to be a mother, you know, I want to pursue my goals and I want to start a business, and motherhood may drag me, you know, along the way, and I might not achieve the goals that I want. Was there ever a point that question crossed your mind, Stephanie?
Yvonne, that question crosses my mind every day. Motherhood, unfortunately, in the society we live in, is belittled. And you have people, like sometimes I have some of my friends said, we are corporates. You know, now that's a cool club, the corporates. So when you say, oh, I'm raising my children, people are like, really? You know, like, why?
What is she?
Oh, you know. So first you have to speak to yourself. And as she said, it's a gift. I'm privileged to have 5. Now, I have 5. Now, I know very few people with 5. Yeah. So usually when I tell people, in fact, I know that I replay the reaction. 5! Oh my God! Are there any twins? Yes. You know, so I'm like, no, 5. All of them pushed out one at a time, 9 months later. Yeah. So it's not something that, before in the African culture, it was great. I mean, you're a mother of 5. These days, it's more like, what went wrong? You know?
I know. How are you going to take care of all the 5?
Yes.
Yeah. And you know, populating the world.
Yes, you did. No, I like the one I'm told. You did your biblical part. Those are the ones of being nice. No, but even in my business now, there's just that as a part of the society. Then my business, I have to make decisions like the one you said Njoki made, where you have an important meeting to go to, and something happens to your child. She comes first, he comes first. So I make those kind of decisions every day. Yeah. There are days I do it better than other days. There are times I'm in a meeting and I'm just thinking of my children. I'm like, I should have. And I have one of them who's she's like me, she's very emotionally driven. And when you say no to her, you really feel, she really takes it more than the others. And I'm like, suck it up, you know? But you know, when I'm at that meeting, and I'm thinking I should have taken her to ballet. I should have been there with her. She wanted to show me something. Okay. And I'm not really concentrating. Now, the other thing, there are bills. And there are 5. Yes. So, as I said, I make that decision every day. I've not gotten to a place where I'm just sailing through. Yeah, but it's a decision you have to make on a daily basis.
On a daily basis. You're well past the stage at which Stephanie is at right now. Does it ever get any easier? And we're not trying to say motherhood is hard and it's difficult and you know, oh my God, it's such an agonizing thing. But when you look at where Stephanie is at right now in motherhood, and you are well past that stage, some reflections.
Yes. When she told me she has 5 children, 5?
I know.
I have 3 and a set of twins. And so I imagined the 5 and I thought, oh my God, amazing that it should be the reaction. But raising children is not an easy job. It's a lot of responsibility. It's a joy. And when I was reflecting as she spoke, I remembered myself bringing up my children, a young mother, juggling between work and children, twins, and it was hard. There are times that I never enjoyed it at all. I just cried myself silly. I didn't want them anymore because I didn't have a good night's sleep. The responsibilities were overwhelming, but I knew that this is not something that someone else is going to help me with. I got to do it on my own. And so I nurtured my children. It gets easier once that is all done. But the responsibility sort of doesn't quite go away. Now my children are all grown up and in their homes. School fees is a thing of the past. So guess what? It's going to happen. You know, that's dropping. My husband and I dropped our children in school for 18 years. He dropped them in the morning. I picked them in the evening. When that finished, it was like, there's something I should be doing. I'm not doing. And so now it's also a question of now enjoying settling them in their own homes and being a mother once again, because the grandchildren are now the ones that I'm nurturing and encouraging, supporting and playing with. And so it begins all over again. So motherhood is a lifelong journey. It does get easier, by the way. It does get easier because the direct responsibility is not there. But the burden doesn't go about your children. You pray for them. If they are stressed, so are you. If their marriage is not working, then you're not happy. So it's just the age that is different, but you continue carrying the burden as a mother.
That's right. And in the West, you know, it's, once they turn 18 and they get a driving license and they move out of the house. That's not the same in Africa, is it? Okay, that's across the board.
They still remain. They are independent.
Yeah.
But you still have this bond that is close. And so many times we've had a lot of cases where children don't move out of home, and you're 50 and you're still with your parents, and so that's a big challenge. I don't support that. I believe that children at the right age need to be kicked out of home. I mean, you're a grown-up now, you need to be able to start building your own foundations. And so that also becomes another challenge in parenting. Children not growing according to their developmental stages. They are over 30. They are not married. That's another problem. So, you know, parents continue being anxious about their own children.
Indeed. And just before Mother's Day, there was a report that was released, Njoki, and it was talking about Kenya being among the worst countries to be a mother in the world. You know, just some statistics about what it's like to give birth to a child and what the conditions are like for that child when he or she comes into this world. Let's talk about the difficulties of motherhood for a lot of Kenyan women, and it could be from providing you know, a meal, just a basic meal every day, breastfeeding, healthcare issues. Njoki.
Well, it's like we were talking about earlier. First, let's start with just that maternal health. You go to the clinic, and you see, when you talk about more than 50% being below the poverty line, these are the people we're talking about. Where first and foremost, access to a health center is an issue. Remember the way we were saying that, you know, you have to be carried on a wheelbarrow. Some are carried on a mattress. Then you get to the stage, and then you have to wait for a
vehicle that comes once every few hours.
A good Samaritan, because there's no public transport that's going to allow you to get in, because that's drama. And so a good Samaritan to rush you to the clinic. You get to the clinic, there's no equipment. So the nurse is looking at you and thinking, okay, so what can I do? Other than give you the comfort that you're now in a professional setup, there's no equipment. So, and you know, I was watching, there was one of the Americans, one of the missionaries, I remember she was saying she was somewhere in northeastern, and she gave birth in Kenya. She got to the clinic and there was nothing. So now she was telling the nurse what to do.
Oh dear.
Just to get, and you know, and I could imagine her horror, because if she was at home, it would have been so easy, so smooth. So first, there's that whole, it's a 50-50 chance. Not that when you're told you go to surgery, there's a 50-50 chance that you will live. Motherhood is like that in Kenya. You get pregnant, 50-50 chance that you will survive this whole ordeal. If you're from one of those communities that practice female genital mutilation, another drama, because you have first to push through the closing to create the tear, and then after the tear, push out. And this is the reason why we're having what I was telling you, the obstetric fistula day. And by the way, as I talk about obstetric fistula, the UN General Assembly finally realized that this is an issue, especially in developing countries, that this whole poverty issue, early girl child marriage is causing this fistula, and Africa and other developing nations are suffering from it. So in December last year, they set a date, May 23rd, which is next week, where the whole world, and this is the first one, where the whole world is going to commemorate all these women who have died or are suffering from obstetric fistula, and it's part of the campaign. It's one of the, it's like anniversary on the campaign to end obstetric fistula. So that's another thing. If you give birth and you get that, and sometimes that comes from prolonged labor, especially from those communities, then you get home, nobody wants to deal with you. So now you're an outcast, you and your child, or children.
Plus all the children.
Or children. Because again, in the African context, people want many. So you and your children, you have no income. So what does that mean? You have to find a way to fend for these children. And that means you have to beg. In your community, you have to beg. You will constantly be poor for the rest of those. And then, because you can't afford quality health care for your child, what does that mean? That by the time that child is 5 years old, that child probably has died. either from malaria or pneumonia, or so, and even child mortality here is also very high because of those issues. Maybe you've gone to hospital, you've delivered, but the health center doesn't have a proper place to keep the child. And if you're not sleeping with that child, you will wake up one morning and be told mtoto alikufa jana usiku. You see, so those are some of the issues. Then growing up, you can't take them to school because school is expensive. Even that thing they're calling free education, you still have to buy school uniform. You don't have the books,
and the child has to eat.
And the child has to eat, and you don't clothes. And the schools are very far, so you have to. So it's a chaotic process. She's talking about the challenges she has as a corporate entrepreneur. Now imagine the challenges this woman has back at home, and then let's also talk about the fact that a lot of women don't have access to family planning. So they cannot, they don't have
they can't plan their families,
and whether they want to use the artificial or the natural methods, they do not have the power to negotiate. Okay, let's not have sex today because I'm in my dangerous zone. Who wants to hear that? So you sort out, and people, and even among the teenagers, they say the issue of pregnancy is a responsibility of the woman. So how are you supposed to be, blocking stuff? And when you get pregnant, it is your responsibility. In fact, how did you get pregnant? Why didn't you, why?
Exactly.
So again, it means for the next 9 months, you shall carry the burden of that pregnancy by yourself. It is your responsibility. Let's look at the fact that even in hospitals where we say they're quite advanced, women are dying from things like high blood pressure during delivery. Isn't that what happened the other day recently? High blood pressure, these lifestyle diseases that we have, that we are not managing or are not being seen in good time. Then what happens? You end up dying from that. When we get complications that, like what that Kiambu woman, is it Thika? The one from Thika or Kiambu, the one who got the Siamese twins. In another environment, those kids would have been saved. But you can imagine the drama of Haya. What do we do with these kids? Okay, pack them in an ambulance and take them to Kenyatta. Already that initial care that should have taken place, So it's unless
really
you have the money where you can say, I'm going to get my own OBGYN who's going to follow my pregnancy from
day one,
conception to delivery and the aftercare. It is very dicey for a lot of women. Let me give you a short story. There's a lady who used to plait my daughter's hair, and every 2 weeks we would go to the same salon, and she'd do because they really had a nice bond. So, and she was pregnant. About 6 months later, we go, back to the salon, and we're asking, kwani yuko wapi, and the other lady say, ameenda. So we're saying, okay, ameenda wapi? Ameenda. You're not getting it. Okay, I didn't get it. I just thought maybe either she's going to deliver or she's going to rest, she's coming back.
She's going to another salon, or...
I said, no. And this was in the city center. The woman went to the clinic like 2 days before, and she died giving birth. In the city center, where you think, we have all these services. So this woman, there is never a single moment where she thought she would die from, and she died from giving birth. So it is, and that's what I was saying, it is very important that even as the president declares that maternal health is going to be free, it is a lot more than just saying maternal health is going to be free, because we have to ensure an environment where every pregnancy is safe. Every delivery is safe, because there's no point. In fact, it is ruthless. It is cruel to allow the transition between womanhood to motherhood to be extremely dangerous.
To be a matter of life and death.
It shouldn't be. It should be a whatever of joy.
Indeed.
It should be a process of joy.
Indeed. And we talk about motherhood being a gift, but somehow in Kenya, yes, exactly. It looks exactly like a curse. We have some questions here on Twitter, and this is great. We have Charles, who asks, motherhood does change people, and he says, I'm yet to meet a lady who has not been changed by being a mother. Jennifer, in what way does motherhood, change a woman? And some men are about to just put in a rider here, you know what's coming with this one.
Let me say that there's one constant in life that's going to happen. It's called change. Not necessarily because of motherhood. So change is something you go through in life. Motherhood changes you drastically. Why? You don't think just about yourself anymore. You have some little child who depends totally on you. And so the change is because of responsibility, and it's because of nurturing. And yes, maybe he would be afraid that if he's gotten married to this beautiful girl, she's going to change. Change is definitely there. But it's a question of balancing between motherhood and being a wife and a lover. So finding the balance is what is important. And once you do that, with 5 children, she should tell us how she did
has
it.
motherhood changed you?
I am a wife and I am a lover.
I like that.
No, yes, it's a balance, and I do have met people who use their children as a scapegoat. They're like, I'm with a child,
Right.
I am with a child, and so the man is left there wondering, curse the child.
Yes.
You know, you were first my girlfriend. You were first. I
My
loved
wife,
you. We were having something, and it's a training also to the children, because the children want you, and they want you and nobody else, especially when they're younger.
Yes.
But our children know that when I'm with their dad, I'm with their dad. And sometimes we do things, they say gross, we kiss. We say yes, because we are having a relationship. And we have something called a date night, where they say, oh, it's your date night.
Okay.
Yeah.
You know, so whether we tell them when you're sick, call AR. Ensure the call AR. Do not call.
Right. Yes.
Yeah, so you have to have
That balance.
a balance. Yes. Yeah.
Can I just add something to this? This balance must also come with support of your partner, because your partner must appreciate that as a mother. In fact, in the first maybe 2 months, where even your body is going through the changes of sort of readapting itself to its normal self, and there's all these hormonal things, and the fact that you're breastfeeding, and you don't even know, especially if you're a first-time mother, you have no clue, and people are giving you all these sort of messages. I don't know porridge, I don't know soup, and unless the husband is supportive and understands that this is a process that you must go through, and he's not giving you the pressure to deliver to his needs during that critical time, then that relationship will survive.
Yes.
However, if there's all this pressure to go back to the person you used to be within 24 hours, then the relationship will begin to break down. And I know when I was at the coast, when I used to live at the coast some time back, I spoke to an imam, and he was saying that some of the things they have is they actually educate, their men, and say, give your wife some, and they give, and it's a reasonable, it's a reasonable
40 days,
before you engage in, and you see that gives the woman time to breathe, and the man is not going to give the pressure. And in some communities, they actually help with the child rearing, making sure the groceries are in and everything. So at the end of the 40 years, you even as a mother, you're so appreciative of his what he has been doing, and giving you the space that you will give him what he wants.
Right.
So the partner involvement is also very critical.
Very important in terms of being a good mother. Michael Wafula on Twitter says, great discussion. Please encourage the fathers too. Jennifer, of course, being a mother is important, but being a mother is not exclusive of fatherhood. The two happen together. Let's talk about how important fathers are in making mothers good mothers.
Okay. Well, Joki said it very clearly. Support your wife. I want to say that fathers are so key in this relationship. They are so important. I mean, they are the ones we begin with. You meet this man, if you met like mine, tall, dark, and handsome, I mean, this is it. And so you want to nurture that relationship. I want to say this. If you're raising children and you don't have a relationship with their father, then it becomes very dangerous, because children find security in the home because of a good relationship. And so fathers, we appreciate you fathers, and you're important. But many fathers are abdicating their roles and responsibility. A father needs to be present. A father needs to be the one that gives guidance in the home. A father needs to be the one that actually is the priest of the home. And so all we can do in terms of being wives for the husbands is to love them to respect them, so that at the end of the day, they would feel comfortable about being around their children. One of the things that I have found very helpful is that sometimes fathers don't know where to fit in. Here you are with your children, you're together all the time, you have your programs. The way that fathers fit in is that their wives have to bring them in by involving them and letting them know what to do. Women generally have expectations and complain. Oh, he doesn't help me. He's never home. He doesn't take the children to school. He doesn't do anything. He doesn't do because he doesn't know. Let him know the involvement that is expected so that he can be able to help. These days, they do a lot. When I was growing up, when I brought my children up, I did it all alone. I didn't have someone to wake up. I see my daughters, my son-in-laws, and they change diapers. They wake up at night, you know. You sleep, they wake up in turns. And so fathers, well done. You're doing a good job. And what it's some of the men think it's a weakness to be around their wives, to be in the kitchen, to change diapers. No, you begin bonding with a child, not when they are born, but when they are still in the womb. When you speak to them, when a child is born of a couple that have been in love and communicate well, the child comes out into a world of confidence. And when they continue having the parents together and enjoying that, doesn't matter if the parents are not together, but the involvement of raising that child, whether you are a father, single, or whether you're a single mother, is so crucial, because the child develops properly because of being brought up in a good environment of security, warmth, and love.
From both parents. And we will be talking about single motherhood because that's also on the rise. But do you relate to what Jennifer is saying, that now, you know, the men are a lot more involved? Is that the same, you know, in your household where, you know, a man steps up?
I think we have to say something about our generation of men. Even when we do the pickings and the droppings, I mean, you see the men in their suits and their children there on Saturday when they go for their sports and their extracurriculum. I know where I go, there's a couple I know, they do it in turns. And you see, you know, the men come and out with two girls with ballet tutus, and then, you know, they sit and, you know, they're trying to be manly with their, you know. But you see that they're doing their part. They're doing their part, and that's something that needs to be noticed. The other thing about, I keep telling my husband is, unfortunately, for men, we don't really talk about them so much. And they are doing their bit because it's a man's world and everything. Women, we are always screaming about what we need. And Joki knows I mean this. But they are doing their part. I think I'm not complaining. And that is so important. And you know, Father's Day is celebrated in June. How many people remember the date?
So we'll have that conversation.
You know, and it should be commercialized as well, I think, as much as that. But you know, I mean, let's understand, and not to downplay the man. The man plays a very pivotal role. You know, but let's be honest, the women do nurture the babies, and the men help. You know, from time to time. But we do know this is how we were created. You know, women bring life, and women have an extra sort of something with their children that's different from what the man provides, which is also very important, not to be sort of cast aside. But single motherhood is something that is on the rise, and without vilifying single mothers, however they became single mothers, it could be some do it by choice. It could be that some, you know, it's a relationship that just doesn't go as planned. You know, things happen in life. But we do have a lot of single mothers. Let's talk about them and the role that they play, and indeed the role that the fathers should play, even though mother and father are not together.
Single parenthood is certainly on the rise. It is not the ideal situation. The ideal is that a child ought to be brought up by both father and both mother. When you find yourself single, yes, it could be because you chose to, and it could be because the father has refused to take responsibility. As if you have a choice, it is good to avoid it. I've met women that today are choosing to even go to the sperm bank, forget about a man, and just have a child because I want a child. For me, I consider that a little selfish because you're thinking about the now and not the future. When these children grow up, you saw the other day in the news a man suing his father, you know, because he says he's tired of being called a bastard child. Yes. And he's been, he's gone through trauma in his life simply because he was born out of wedlock. A child has no choice. A child is born, and whoever they become is as a result of what the parents choose. Now, the thing is that when children reach the age of identity, they want to know, where did I come from? Who was my father? Who was my mother? And at that point, are you going to tell them that you are a test tube baby? Are you going to say that I just went to a sperm bank? I don't know who your father is. Many times, single parents usually say, your father died.
Yes.
Your father died.
Right.
And if I've met quite a handful of single ladies who much later in life have said, if I were to do it all over again, I wouldn't do it that way, because I'm now contending with this young man who wants his identity. Who is my father? And then the fathers don't understand that this child is not looking for school fees. This child is not looking for any wealth. This child is going through the stage, and it is a normal developmental stage in life of wanting to have an identity. Who am I? And so I appreciate every single mother. It doesn't mean that because you are a single mother, you got pregnant, the man dumped you and walked out. That's the end. No. You can still find another man that's gonna love you and can adopt that child who can walk the journey of life. What is important is not where you began. What is important is where you end. It is so important that every child must have a role model father. Yes. It doesn't have to be their biological father. Yes. But as the child is growing up, there's an uncle or a friend or someone who is going to be present as a man. Particularly for girls.
For girls?
Many people say about the boys, but I want to tell you something. When a girl grows up without a daddy, she becomes one. Girls usually have a relationship with their fathers. In fact, psychologists call it a sexual relationship. Okay. All right? Because of an attraction. Now, when the girl grows up without that daddy, she begins to look around and see other daddies. And guess what? Why do we have sugar daddies? Because any girl who has not grown up with a father figure always admires father figures and has a relationship that should have been had in her early days. So she gets into a sexual relationship with an older man. You check it out. Many girls who have not had fathers will have sugar daddies later in their lives. So do yourself a favor. Get that daughter a man who is going to be a role model. Of course, for the boys start looking for their daddies later in life because of a lineage. Yes.
We are patrilineal, aren't we?
Exactly. Yes. So what is your generation? You want to have your lineage, and in the absence of that, your manhood is challenged.
That's right.
And also another thing is if you're a single mother, it's very important to be careful with your relationships. If you're going out with with a boyfriend or something. I remember I had my mother telling somebody is that don't make your children start explaining uncles. Okay. Bring them home when you're sure this thing will end up in something.
That's right.
But when you start showing them that, oh, this is Uncle John, after 2 years, oh, this is now Uncle Michael, what happens is when they grow up, especially for the girls, what happens is when they start having boyfriends and you're having issues, you will not have strength in that area to tell her, be careful. She'll say, but what about Uncle John, Paul?
I know.
Yeah. And then for the boys, they will not respect women. They will not respect women because these men did not treat my mom well. And
And
you
so
know,
that
it
seems to
just
be the norm.
spirals down to, you know, women, are to be used. And so you have to be very careful as a single parent that you only bring very serious. Now, you can bring very serious relationships home. Something might go wrong.
Right.
But you tried to bring serious relationships home. Yes.
All right. That's a very important
It's very,
point. Yes.
and the key word here is moral authority.
Yes.
How will you have moral authority of your children
If you don't have it yourself.
if you don't exercise it?
Yes.
Yes. So as a single, I totally agree. You've got to be above board.
Okay.
Whatever you do, you must not do anything that is questionable in the presence of your children.
Whether you're a single mother or whether you are married. Yes, even when you're married, I think that's also very important. Single women, and some great advice, there in terms of just trying to have a father figure or their biological father if, he is willing, involved in their lives. But the truth is, Njoki, a lot of single women are vilified. It's hard enough being a mother, when the father is present, and involved in your life. But it is so difficult when you are a single mother. And in some cases, you're always judged first.
Yes.
Because, before I'll even meet you and say, what happened in your relationship, I will always assume, these are women. She was either trying to be a gold digger, the names that come out of it. But, just support for single mothers, even, when we, as we celebrate mothers during the month of May.
Yeah. Well, the direction I'll take this conversation. There's no way a woman is going to become a mother by herself. Yeah. So why vilify one person? It's like the discussion we had earlier about prostitution. Why are we vilifying the sex worker when she had a sex customer?
Yes.
Yeah. So in the same case with the women, the single women, if you're going to vilify them, vilify the absent fathers as well, because you see, this child is extremely innocent of whatever happened between the two parents, whether it was a relationship gone wrong or the gold digger situation you're saying,
or even the sperm
or
bank.
anything, even the
child
sperm bank.
didn't, apply for how to come into this world.
And so that child has rights, and the right is motherly love, fatherly love, and if the biological father is not around, like she says, a role model. So for me, the woman, just by having that child, if we can even go back to that whole abortion debate, especially the one that is pushed by the religious groups, just the fact that she had the child should be commended, because she is playing her God-given role of giving life and then nurturing that life, and she's doing what she can. Sometimes single mothers are blamed for going out of their way to spoil the children, but maybe they're trying to make up for the absence of the father. Now, if fathers could also play their role, you don't necessarily have to love the woman. Focus on the child. You don't have to build a relationship with the woman. I mean, if it's broken, it's broken. No need in mending it. But think of the child who did not ask to be here. Yeah, and then I think it's like what the guy who wrote to you on Twitter, it's like what he said, that we also need to focus on fathers. That fathers is not about the relationship that the guy has with the woman, but it's about how are you bringing up this child. Because and Kenya and Africa, Kenya is a country that has a lot of absent fathers, and the absent fathers are not necessarily in relationship to single mothers, but even as married men, a lot of them are absent fathers. They bring the meat, then they go out. They are not involved in the bringing up of their children. Now, what is happening is that the country then ends up having a whole society of dysfunctional families and dysfunctional people who don't know what to do with children. The children come and they literally bring themselves up. So as we focus on mothers, whether single, whether married, we need to also turn our direction on the fathers and let them know that if this society has to grow up right, if this society has to be developed, your input in where your seeds are need to be sorted out as well.
Indeed. Indeed, that's important. And just talking about absent fathers, I like that. Even within marriages, and I know Nyeri is one big place because of the issue with alcohol, saying that they are present physically up here. That's a whole different matter altogether. Let's move to the mother, the corporate mother, the one who's the career woman. And I think, Stephanie had talked about how sometimes you're at work and you're thinking about, your children, you're thinking about your family. perhaps motherhood does change a woman, in the office, within the office context. And some, this story by now, some male bosses, the first question you get asked, for a job interview is, so you're fairly young. Are you planning to get married? Are you recently married? And so the employer does the math in his head. Okay, she'll probably have children in the next 2 years.
Exactly.
That'll be 9 months of half, productivity and 3 months of her not being present. And then, coming there. But how does a woman then carry herself at work when she's a mother? So that, yes, you're a mother, but yes, you're also an employee and one that gives, as much as they expect from their employer.
I think it begins by, first of all, acknowledging that, yes, I'm a mother. What kind of career suits me best? And being in agreement with the partner. Because I've met very many couples that have disagreed about the kind of job that the mother is in, because it involves a lot of travel or very long hours. And so I think before you step out to find that job, you need to be aware of that fact, that you are a mother or an aspiring mother, and while you are raising your children, you will require a job that is a little bit flexible, so that it allows you time with your children. And so now here you are in the corporate world. I think being a mother does not stop you from flying to any level, because there's nothing that is abnormal about childhood or pregnancy. I would work until the day I don't come back to work. That's when I'm having my baby. You're strong, you're energetic, you can work. Pregnancy does not hinder you.
It's not a disease.
Not many people.
It's not a disease.
It's not a disease. It's not a disease. And also, at this day of digital, you will work from home. You can be able to carry on the office at every level, and so it's no big deal. What is important is to remember just to have the home-work balance. Whatever you do, remember that, yes, you're raising a family and work is important. If career is so important that you neglect the home, then the children are not going to have a nurturer. The husband is not going to have a lover or a friend, and at the end of the day, the dysfunction of family comes in. So is it worth it? There are couples that choose to take time out, maybe a year or two, and bring up the young family, and that's very, very commendable and helpful. So I think it comes to a very personal level of how would you want to do this. Unfortunately, most of the Kenyan population are not financially endowed. So they'd like to take time out, but they are not able to take time out because they need the money. At this point, even as an employer, I totally agree, because I'm one of those that would look and think, okay, she'll be pregnant in another. I don't need this. Let me hire a man instead. I don't need this.
But
it's important.
Let me just add something to what she said. One of the reasons why we have these issues keep coming up, where they're saying, women do not perform, is because we have a few, and please, women, if we're mothers, let's be mothers of integrity.
Yes.
There are a few women who use their pregnancy and their motherhood to skive work.
There you go.
And those are the ones who then end up, vilifying the entire population of mothers. And there's some mothers who work very, very hard. And that work balance, you find even when they know the work hours, and they sort out their business, like taking the children to school or whatever, before they get to work, and they work until the time they're supposed to work. Some of them work even longer, and then they go home and they make up for it, check the homework and everything. But they don't use the excuse. And those women, when they go to the boss and say, I've just been called by the school, my daughter is unwell, my son is unwell, the boss says, go. In fact, sort out your family first before you come home. But then there's this one, once a week or even twice a week, she will have some sort of reason. And
there'll always be a crisis.
There'll always be a crisis. And some of them are not genuine. And those are the ones who create this negative image about mothers. Yet we have a lot of mothers who work very well in the corporate sector, very well in the public sector, very well as entrepreneurs and career women. So So motherhood should be celebrated. It should not be used as a deterrent to going up the corporate ladder or the whatever career ladder you're thinking. It is if you're a mother and if you accept your role as a mother, because everybody wants to be a mother, even the ones who are not able to do it naturally, you can see them adopted and everything. So that's something that is written in our gene by God. So motherhood should be celebrated. But then how do we conduct ourselves as mothers? Yeah, because then these few people are also denying very good women opportunities in the career world. And like she was saying about taking the time off, I remember myself when I after I gave birth, a few months before I gave birth, and for about a year, I took time off. I said, you know what, I don't want to be dealing with or seeking excuses and making the whole thing. And I must thank God because I was able. There, like she said, there are very many people who are not able. But I was able. I took time off 1 year. She was working. She was fine. Then I was able to go back to work and focus as I should focus. But sometimes even myself in my managerial position, when I was here, is you find people using those excuses and you don't know what to do because you're thinking, should I support her? Or if I go and say, can we have this one fired? Because you know deep down, I mean, you're a mother. So you can tell when they're lying and when they're not lying. The man will not say it, but you will see what he will do. Later on, when they're doing the employment thing, they cut off women. So sometimes it's because of what we do as mothers.
And that's very important for us to know, that we carry ourselves, as mothers, but in the right. I like how I'm saying we. I already feel like I'm part of this by association rather than by anything else. But let's talk about something that a lot of people have a problem with, and I don't want it to be thought that we are vain, but I think it's important to talk about. Motherhood changing the outlook of a woman. What she thinks about herself, how she dresses. And allow me to say, without looking like I'm flattering you, 5 children. We look almost the same size. I haven't had any children, but for most people, the belief is, I'm a mother. Why bother with my hair? Why bother with the way I look? Why dress presentably anymore? They should understand. No. Hush. Don't even say what you're saying out loud, because I don't want people to hear that. But let's talk about that and why. For some men it's like, oh, okay, she's gotten married. That's the end. That's the end. Even your friends will say that, oh, just forget about her now, because it'll be that excuse of, by the way, they need to understand I'm a mother. And sometimes, and maybe I'll say this, and I might sound, but women come to work and we know she's lactating. And, she's got the little dripping thing and doesn't seem to be bothered with it. And when you ask her, she says, I'm breastfeeding. What do you expect?
Those are first-time mothers.
Yes. But let's just talk about, a woman and taking care of herself and being a mother and, the two.
I'll just start with a story. I met a certain gentleman. I'd gone to Kenya Power to do a presentation. And as we were talking before the presentation, I just mentioned, I always mention my children. And so she told me, he told me, how many children do you have? So I said, because I kept changing names. So he was wondering, how many? At that time, I had 4. He was like, 4. You have 4. You need to meet my wife. Then I said, why do I need to meet your wife? Because they have 1. And she's been saying, I'm not having another. I'm not going to be this just woman. And he kept on saying, no, 2 will not change you. And she was so, anyway, I met her and they did have children. I think now they have 3 because she saw it is possible. Yes. But I think it's choices you make. I'm a last born in my family, and I have older sisters. And one thing they told me when I got pregnant, they told me, and I know this might not augur well with others, but they told me, avoid the uji and the soup. Avoid you. Take vitamins. Take pregnant care. Do not take those.
Right.
So I was like, why? I said, because they do have nutrition, but they have a lot of fat. And uji enhances your stomach.
I think that's what happened.
And so, of course, I did have issues with the in-laws, because now the uji is brought.
Yes. and what to do.
So you take one sip with a cup, and they're there. When they go, of course, you clear the thermos in the sink. But I had to take care of myself because there's life after that.
Right.
And there are choices. There are some who would understand and they would be like, okay, we will not bring you Uji. Some would not, and so I'll have to take those drastic steps. But first child went well, second child, and I'm actually as big as I've ever been right now, but I'm comfortable with my weight at the moment. But it's decisions you make. When you're breastfeeding, you need to get the right bra because, and also I think most hospitals tell you that when you're sleeping, you need to support your bust. You need to support it. Don't just leave it loose because it then stretches and it becomes. And so there are things like this you need to do. Now, I've been a mother several times. I know it's painful. I know when especially for first-time mothers, when the first 2 weeks, when your breast is enlarging because of the milk, it's actually very painful. You don't want anything on it, but you need to just, take painkillers or something. Yeah, because you're thinking of life after the child.
Okay.
After the child is older.
And that's important. Jennifer, you talk about marriages that are built to last in your book. And this is one of the things, that we want to talk about. And I like what she says, Stephanie, that there is life after motherhood. And you would certainly know that. Motherhood's done now. And, just taking care of yourself as a woman, that's important.
It is important. What basically happens is that sometimes the change is a little overwhelming for different individuals. And when you've had a baby, there's something we call postnatal depression. And that sometimes happens to several women. So when you do get a slight depression, you lose your self-esteem. And when you lose your self-esteem, your self-image doesn't matter.
Right.
You really don't care. And so basically, when you see a mother that is not taking care of themselves, sometimes it goes beyond their normal capacities because they are stressed, they are depressed, they are not excited about these new changes. But I find that mothers need a lot of support, they need a lot of mentoring, they need a lot of encouragement. And I've seen my own children go through childbirth and nurture their children. And one of the things that I have always told these young people, doesn't matter whether you're stay-home mom, you don't put on that t-shirt, come on, clean up, put on your bra and look good. Let's not have everyone looking at you and seeing that there's a baby here.
She's a mother.
She's a mother. She's a mother. A new mother.
Right.
No, you need to be able to do that. And when you do that, put a little makeup, wear your lipstick, put that firm bra, feeding bra, very important. You have no reason why you should be leaking all over the place. It is in bad taste. And it also actually affects the relationship. No man wants to go home to some woman that is looking out of control. However, it also goes beyond the child part. When you now are an older woman, why should you look good? First of all, you found the man you wanted. Secondly, you've raised the children that you are raising. And thirdly, you are not trying to attract anyone. You got him already. You got them already. So it is important for you as a person to want to look good. And why should you not look good? I'm a grandmother. As a great-grandmother, I will look good because I choose to.
Awesome.
Awesome.
It's a choice. It really is a choice. It really is a choice. We want to come to the close of our discussion now. Very interesting, and we actually have a challenge from Angaina. Says, great discussion. Next time, discuss fathers. And we will. We will talk about fathers, and we will speak to fathers, about the same. But we're coming to... Yes, we will. You best believe we will do that. We're coming to now, the end of our discussion. Motherhood in Kenya, and what needs to change to make this, like we're saying, a gift, a blessing, and not a curse.
Change the poverty levels.
Simple as that. Okay.
Change the poverty levels.
And the
You see,
president
we're
has
able to
100 days
discuss
now. Yeah.
like this because God has given us the capacity to be able to do these things. But we as many as we have friends, we actually still make up the minority. The majority of mothers are those who are having a hard time. And the only way they can enjoy some of these things we're talking about, take care of themselves, take care of their babies, take care of their bodies, pursue some sort of career, is if we increase our economy and increase the level of income for everyone so that people are not struggling under the pressure of taking care of their families. When you're just struggling from, hand to mouth, day to day, a lot of those mothers are even sacrificing their own lives for their children. They will not eat for the sake of their children. They will not clothe themselves unless their children are clothed. They will not do stuff for themselves unless their children are fine. Now, if you can provide this woman with the opportunity to take care of herself, and the only way she can do that if there's some economic growth where she's earning sufficient to care for herself and some extra, then this discussion we're having for mothers and for motherhood being a dangerous thing in Kenya, it shall continue.
Indeed, it shall. Stephanie, let's hear from you, your final words. Motherhood and what a joy it can be, and doing it all. Being a mother, being an entrepreneur, being a wife, being a lover, being a friend, being everything that we have discussed this morning. And, also some advice to young girls who, want to be mothers but are scared for one reason or another.
Yeah, I like what you said, scared, because we do mentor girls.
Yes.
And it's unfortunate that they don't think being a mother and a wife is a great thing. Society, I think there are so many mistakes that have been made. And what I would say is being a mother, as Karina said, is a gift. It's a gift. You have this human being that God has given you to mentor them. And then if you're married, then you have this husband. So I would like to say that let's give it the importance it has. Everybody, even our president, has a mother, and needed a mother like who she is for him to be where he is.
That's right.
Yeah, so
that's right.
They say behind every successful man there is a woman, but behind everyone there is a mother.
That's right.
Yes, so women are important. What we are doing is important. Don't rush your children to school and then prep up for this presentation. No, take time with your children. That is very important.
Right.
Yes, and then give it as much importance as you give your career.
Okay, all right. Some good advice. I think behind every successful man there's a woman, but behind every successful person
There's a mother.
There's a mother.
Jennifer, final words from you?
I'd like to say that motherhood is indeed a gift, and we celebrate motherhood on a daily basis. When God has given you the privilege of being a mother, don't take it lightly. Nurture that child. They say that mtoto umleavyo ndio akuavyo. And so remember that you're raising a great citizen and a future president of this country. I would also like to say that it is time that we take responsibility. How? If a man causes a woman to be pregnant, he should not be allowed to walk away. He may choose not to marry her, but I think as a society, we must have a system where that person is held responsible for nurturing and financial support of the child until they are of age. And that is very, very, very key and very crucial, because it doesn't matter what happens, a child will always want to know who the biological parents are, and children are who they are because of where they come from. Finally, allow me to say, I wrote a book, Marriage Built to Last. Many of the viewers have read it, and we had the privilege of talking about it very early as we were launching.
Right.
We've put a group of authors together, a whole group of authors who are going to be able to support those that would want to write. Maybe you need to write about your 5 children.
You do?
So if you're thinking about writing a book, this Saturday we have a book signing and a speaking engagement at the junction
Yes.
on Gongu Road.
Right.
So you want to come, learn how you can be. We'll have publishers there and many Kenyan authors who will be talking about how can you
write.
be able to write your book.
Write about motherhood, write about being a wife. I mean, you've
being
written,
a wife.
about that, and I like
Maybe
how
my next book
I
is
like how you plug that in. Very clever of you. Very clever. Very clever. Although well done, because we did have the authors here yesterday, and I did allude to the fact that you would be here today, and that you would be the one who would be present on Saturday as well.
Oh, great.
So
Before I forget, let me say this. I've been a mother and now a grandmother. I want to say that motherhood is a journey that is not particularly always very sweet. There are some challenges along the way, but at the end of it, it is nothing but bliss and joy. And so if you're struggling, in raising your 5 children, you're raising your 9-year-old, the time will come when you can sit back and be spoiled by those very children.
Yes. Can I just add something, the final word? I like what she said about the mentorship. We also do the mothers and daughters, and one of the things that we find very critical is the support that we as mothers also provide each other. Because as Karina said, that sometimes what you see a mother doing, letting herself go and everything, it's not maybe out of choice. It could be she's going through depression and she doesn't know it. But when you have somebody supporting you and is always with you and talking to you and maybe even taking some of the burden from your hands so that you're able to breathe, I think it's also important. So as we celebrate motherhood, we just need supporting, supporting each other.
All right, okay. Thank you, ladies, for a very eye-opening discussion. Particularly for somebody like me, if I was scared, well, that's over now. Mother's looking good, grandmother's looking good, mother's looking good, and fighting for other mothers, and just encouraging us all to be together. And I like what you talked about, that the fathers are important, and the Children's Act of 2001 actually now has changed. Before it was a child was born between a husband and a wife, and now that has been restated in the law, stating that a child is anyone born between the union of a man and a woman, and both are equally responsible for the child. And I think that's very important to emphasize. Thank you very much for coming. Such a great discussion. And yes, we will have the fathers. Stephanie Mwite, who's a mother and an entrepreneur, does many things, by the way, several things. I want to talk about, and Jennifer Karina, who's also a mother and an author, and Joki Karwoya, whom you know very well, always with us on Wednesday mornings here when we put gender agenda first. Thank you for joining us. Remember, Father's Day is coming up next month, and yes, we will definitely make sure we have fathers here to talk about the same.